Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton, and I just got back from seeing King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. I heard that Warner Brothers was planning on making their own companion piece to say the Lord of the Rings movies with this one. You know, trying to turn three fantasy adventure movies into a series that could please the fans while also getting Warner Brothers tons of money. Unfortunately, they only had one movie to work with, and if this was going to be a trilogy, it would definitely not start on the right foot, and I'm pretty sure the plans are just going to end with this one movie because it's not very good. Not terrible, but not very good either. Let's get to the story, shall we? After King Arthur's parents are killed by a man named Vortigern, played by Jude Law, he ends up being raised in a brothel, and he ends up becoming a bit of a criminal, while bonding with the various people in the brothel as well as with a local criminal gang. When he ends up pulling the sword out of the stone known as Excalibur, he ends up being recruited by a young mage named Guinevere, yes, that Guinevere, to join a band of rebels to learn how to train his body and mind to use Excalibur properly so he can defeat Vortigern and bring peace and honor to Camelot. That's basically the story, but the problem with the story is that it feels like it's a bit overstuffed. There's a whole subplot about mages versus men that really goes nowhere. There are several flashbacks to the moments where King Arthur and King Arthur's parents die, and every time it happens, it doesn't bring any new information to the audience. It just sort of happens just for the sake of the plot, and when the plot is in the present day, it's pretty much just a typical underdog story with not a lot of new elements added in. And it's hard to get invested when there are way too many side characters and most of them aren't developed very well. Heck, even David Beckham plays one of the side characters, yes, the soccer player, and his acting leaves a lot to be desired. I could say that for a lot of the actors, really, but especially Charlie Hunnam as King Arthur. He was not very good in Pacific Rim, and that's when he had Idris Elba, an incredibly charismatic actor, trying to back him up. And here, he's not very good either. His acting has not improved. They tried to turn King Arthur into a bit of a snarky smartass to make him, more likable to the audience, but Hunnam just cannot pull that kind of character off. It really does not work. However, I will say that Jude Law does try his hardest as King Vortigern, and even though the material he's given is nothing special, he does pull it off very well. The same can be said for Digimon Honsu, if I pronounced his name right, as Sir Bedivere. He does a good job too. They do elevate the film. Also, I will say that the film has some decent action scenes, even though you don't really care about the characters involved. They at least look cool, and they have a lot of good cinematography. And I will applaud the film for getting past its exposition very quickly, because instead of going through a very long expository sequence of detailing King Arthur's origin story, they instead have a bit of a montage at the beginning with a lot of fast editing, a lot of hard-hitting shots, and, giving us just enough information so that we don't get bored. It's a really creative montage with some great music that I actually think a lot of other films should use. Telling a bit of the story through the visuals rather than through the writing, which is good because the writing is not exactly great. The dialogue tries to be witty and have this sort of self-aware adventure vibe, but it just doesn't work out. It really could have used a rewrite. It's really telling when I prefer when the story is told via its visuals rather than its writing. But like I said, there are some good action scenes. Jude Law and Digimon Honsu do a decent job with their performances, and I do think the effects look pretty cool, even if some of them look lifted out of Dark Souls, especially for the Lady in the Water and a certain character that I won't spoil for you. So yeah, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. There are some good things about it, but for the most part, it is a pretty disappointing affair, and considering that Guy Ritchie also made the two Sherlock Holmes, both of which I actually enjoyed, I have to say I'm sort of disappointed with this one, where the most thing I can say about it is just how unmemorable and how mediocre it is. Where it's not really a sin on cinema. It's not a sin on cinema, but at the same time, you're probably going to forget it as soon as you watch it. So I'll give King Arthur: Legend of the Sword a 5 out of 10. See you later. Hopefully with a better movie next time.